Okay, I'm hoping to see everything going live. It is live right now. As soon as you come in, click the like button so that I know that you're here. And this is Clear Blue Radiance with myself, Brother Francis E. Revels-Bey. I'm here for Resident Essentials with my particular podcast today. Before we jump into it, I like to let you know that I've been a spiritual counselor for over 40 years, almost 45 years. And I enjoy people such as yourself to gain greater clarity in your life and to rediscover or redefine your purpose in life. You know, our purpose changes as we change. And this is something that we need to be aware of. The more we change in our own lives, our purpose starts to change. So I'm going to give you the short, very short title, and I'll tell you what the long version is, because I mean it's long. I've been getting these long version titles for some time. The short title is What or Who, I'm going to type it in, is greater than you. And this is something you want to be thoroughly aware of because it's important for us to understand what I'm going to talk about today. And it's going to put you in a position to really comprehend something new and exciting about yourself. Well, this title, the long title is What or Who is Greater Than You? That's the question. Is it a movie star, a billionaire, an athlete, or an illusion of magnitude, of great magnitude? Hey there, Jackie. An illusion of great magnitude by a mediocre brand like a version of Old Navy's designer jeans. So that's the full title. Are we dealing with illusions of great magnitude? Is that what we think we are? This greater illusion that's in the world? Do we think we are our miscreated ego? Do we think we are our ego? Do we think that we don't actually have any power for ourselves? What is it that we're looking at that we are assuming that we may not have with ourselves? Well, hopefully, in this short podcast, I'm going to answer that. Look who's showing up, the beautiful sisters of all my other courses. Audit Mayad. Brenda is here. She's also one of my students. So when we're looking at this, because one of the things is this is all about helping you see a clearer picture about yourself. And so one of the things that I have here with today's topic is about how you value yourself, how you see yourself. And one of the things is you might want to realize when you're looking at this about yourself is this, you know, who do you need to be in your own life? What kind of problems are you competing with in terms of with other people? Sometimes we are constantly want to be, you know, you heard that old phrase, keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with people who seem to have more than you have materialistically. Sometimes in social media, there are these engaged friendships of people that we don't even know. And sometimes that gets to be a competitive thing. People say, I got only 500 friends. Some people, like myself, I got 1,800. It's nothing. You know, some people got 4,700, getting ready to hit 5,000 friends, you know, and 5,000 friends is the limit. So sometimes these images are made up to capture one's attention and often melt away in a sea of deception. So we see it all the time. That's why we have the internet, right? Nothing but deception going on now. It's hard to know who is really who. Sometimes we're being programmed to think that designer clothes are better than the no brand clothes. And celebrities got it good. And liquor ads got your children ready to party out loud. So if you think of it like in terms of advertisements, right? How many have you have gone through minority communities where you see nothing but huge ads on Camel cigarettes, Marlboro cigarettes, menthol cigarettes, you know, Jack Daniels, liquor, I.W. Hopper, liquor, Scotch. You see all these ads, right? Humongous ads. Those ads are working on the mind subliminally. You can go into a movie theater, right? Remember, I don't know if you all remember this, when the movie E.T. first came out, Steven Spielberg's movie, E.T. E.T. wants to go home. They had the M&Ms or the Skittles was a part of that movie. And every time you saw them eating that, it was a subliminal message for people to go up and get some. In certain TV shows, they can show somebody drinking beer as long as they cover up the label, but not in its entirety. You would see red, white, and blue beer can. That was usually Budweiser or Pabst Blue Ribbon beer or whatever. But you would be able to catch just enough of it, just enough of it, so that you would be literally absorbed by the advertisement. Bill Blass, New York City, billboards, the men modeling underwear, women modeling negligees, lingerie, you name it. Anything that captures your mind is an illusion. Reverend Ike used to call it being caught up in the fantasy of something, because you're mesmerized what you're looking at, and that fantasy can override your natural thinking ability. So we want to, be aware. Right. We are eternal consciousness. But when we see all these things bombarding us all the time, these things are designed to take us off track. In one sense, man made society worldwide does not want anyone to reawaken to their truth. So we are continually being baited with trinkets, false hopes, and dreams that your way is never ever good enough. So once that is planted in your mind that you're never ever good enough, and once they see you carry that out, they see masses of people carry that out, getting high, getting drunk all the time, people falling off into domestic violence, gang memberships, you name it, it's happening. Even in white collar crime, people doing things to other people, taking advantage of seniors, taking advantage of whole businesses, hospitals, you name it. Establishments where people are cheating all the time. Well, this is something that we need to start paying attention to, just to see how we can be baited, how we can be led off course. You should know that your life is just plain and lackluster. That's what they want you to see. In other words, you live a boring life. You can't go anywhere. Even if you do go somewhere, you're not going to have any fun. Why? Because you being drawn back to some to dictate everything that we do, everything that we want to have. Again, they'll show you across the track somebody driving what's that car? A Bugatti. A car that's so expensive that the average person can't afford it. But it used to be the fancy cars, used to be the VF, what was it? The VWs were the fancy cars. There were tons of cars, foreign cars that were considered the best for people. Volvo, that used to be, when I was growing up, that was a car that you couldn't touch. Alfa Romeos, you couldn't touch them. Mercedes Benz, you couldn't touch them. Cadillacs, you could. Those are the top of the line cars in the 50s and the 60s. Then you see a James Bond movie, my man's driving a Jaguar, an Alfa Romeo. Now you wish you had a car like that. All these things are designed to interrupt your thought process and your feelings. and causing you to move off course. So the way that we live and how we choose to live is more important than what we think others would like us to live. How other people want you to live is off the beaten track. It's not who you are. Everybody who has an individual clear mind can create the world they want to be in, but they don't want you to do that. That's why it's not good to, and I had to break myself of the habit. I had to break myself of watching TV. I mean, I never slept with a TV in my room. A lot of people did though. I have a lot of friends today. They said, I can't get any sleep. I said, man, how come you can't get any sleep? I said, where's your TV? He said, in my bedroom. Okay, so you know what happens? People turn on the TV really low and they fall off to sleep. And within the last 90 minutes of them falling off to sleep, whatever was being projected across that TV screen is now a part of their dream world. Even people playing music really low, it's a part of their dream world. I sometimes have meditation music on, but that's okay. It's not being adverse to me, it's something that's assisting me. It's bringing greater calmness into my mind, into my body, so I can relax thoroughly. But there are people who can't do that. Some people need to have the TV on. Why? They're afraid of silence. There are a lot of people who are afraid of silence. People have sleep apnea. I have a young friend I never knew until he mentioned yesterday. He has to sleep with an apparatus connected to his nasal passage and throat. He has sleep apnea. His breathing patterns can be so disruptive that he can literally choke in the middle of the night. So these things have to be monitored. So the question is, in other words, are we in control of our own lives? That's why the first part of this title was, what or who is greater than you? What are you giving your power to that becomes greater than you? In big capital letters, we are creators and not meant to be copycats. We are creators and not meant to be copycats. Just like the internet has content creators, we are constant and infinite creators because our minds are always churning away, processing thoughts, problems, and solutions. When you go to sleep at night, your brain is still going, just like your heart is pumping out blood throughout the system. It brings it, it pumps throughout the system, comes back and releases it. Well, you have thoughts coming in and thoughts going out. You got thoughts embedded in your cells. You got thoughts embedded in your muscles. You got thoughts embedded in your nerve system, skeletal system, in the hair, right down to the nails, right down into what is called the fascia that holds the organs in place underneath your skin, on top of your muscle, the fascia, fascia, that holds energy, reams of energy flowing through your system 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we are always recalling the previous day's activities and our responses to them. I'll repeat that again. When you are asleep, we are recalling the previous day's activities and our responses. We are engaging our feelings into the mental processes because that pulls our remembrances forward. I'll restate that again. We are engaging our feelings, how we feel about the day's events, into the mental process. We're thinking about it, how the day was, giving ourselves a evaluation, good, bad, or indifferent. But during that, all of that that's going on, you're pulling forward into up into you remembrances. So you might think, what is it that I do remember? How was my day actually? What was so good about it? What wasn't good about it? You see, We think that people that appear to have more than us have it going on, that they have a restful night, they have a positive day. Not at all. People who work in military, who work in the police and fire department, who work as EMTs in hospitals, nurses, they don't have a dull moment. They might have some slow moments, but when the full moon is out, things are rocking. More suicides during a full moon, more domestic violence during a full moon, people getting high, gang members running strong a full moon, alcoholism a full moon, people shooting up drugs a full moon. Why? Because when the moon, if the moon happens to be in Scorpio, they say that's when the blood is flowing fully, is bleeding. A person will bleed a lot more than when the moon is in other signs other than Scorpio. So here's some things we want to be aware of, you see. There are some greater forms of material expression for us to do. That means you have to know who you are. Ariat Mat said, we are eternal consciousness. That's eternal what? It's infinite, ongoing. Conscious. That's what Dr. Michael Beswick says. He says, who are you that's doing the thinking? Who are you that's doing the seeing? Who are you that's doing the tasting, the touching, and the smelling, and the hearing? We call it a living consciousness. It's housed as a host inside your physical form from head to your fingertips down to your toes. That living consciousness is the one that has the experience. That living eternal consciousness, infinite consciousness, is the one that's within us having the actual experience. Material expressions have no true value because those values are set by man-made governments. Values are set by man-made governments. The man-made government tells you what to think, what to buy, what not to buy, what kind of clothes to buy, what kind of hats to buy. It's constantly advertising it. But it takes a strong mind to go into a store that has no hats. So, hey, do you have any hats? So, no, we don't carry hats here. Look, you just commanded your day. You're in control. Now you can go to the next store and say it with great conviction and affirmation and strength in your voice, like you're laying out a decree. Do you have shoes here? Do you have casual shoes here? What's the price range? If you come in there more comfortable stating what you want, those who work there will come forward to assist you. And it's not necessarily the manager or the cashier, it's everybody else when they make sure that you are fine. Your true wealth is fueled by principles. Your true worth is fueled by principles that you live by, and the longer you live by them as universal laws, you eventually become them as virtues. So these principles that you live by, a principle is a fundamental truth of all truth, and that's what you're living by. When you put that into motion, that is your true wealth. That's a part of your true wealth. A part of your true wealth is your health, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And all of those have to be swept up in alignment to each other. But what are virtues? Virtues are moral excellence. But the way I wrote it here in brackets is elevated principles. The virtues that you have are elevated principles, expressing as moral excellence. People may manifest large homes. I see it all the time. People manifest large homes and they have support groups that feed their miscreated ego that's attached to that large home. And they continue to seek out and create drama based on repetitive low frequencies. So just because somebody's driving in your neighborhood a Bugatti or uh, a Jaguar or a Mercedes, that doesn't mean they're happy. They're not happy. They got other things going on in their mind that's creating sadness for them. Maybe they bought up a whole bunch of Bitcoins and now they can't get rid of them. Remember the craze of Bitcoins? People were talking about Bitcoins, Bitcoins, Bitcoins. Now you don't hear that much about it. So something must be in the ethers that's going to switch with all those Bitcoins that many people are going to get stuck with. So you have to be aware that there's a frequency, a very high frequency, a very low frequency, and you're somewhere in the middle. People may manifest, as I said, these homes, these desires, but there's a lot of drama. They can't pay for the mortgage, or they can't pay the rent, or they can't pay this profound uh, ongoing light bill that they got. People got light bills that are $2,000 a month out here, $1,000 a month. Why? Because they didn't factor in how many lights they're going to have on continuously in their home. That's going to put out that much wattage and have that many volts running through their house, and then all of a sudden they got this humongous light bill that comes in and it says it's over $2,000. They're going to say, well, who is using all the lights? It's not this light bill, it's electricity. So if you got an air conditioning unit going on, that's creating that high debt with the lights. You got every light on in your house, that contributes to the large light bill that you have during that month. So we have to pay more attention. Hey, if you can cook in the kitchen with a candle, do it. So here's something else. You see, these low frequencies feed their low self-esteem. Low frequencies feed low self-esteem, which is gathered up by their shadow self. The shadow self is sometimes known as the lower self. That's the side that we don't often let everybody see. That's the side that might be cussing and carrying on. That's the side that might be flipping the bird to somebody or even yourself. That's the side where you're mad at your spouse or your spouse is mad at you. You're mad at your children. Your shadow self contains all of that, but it can be broken open so light can manifest. See, the shadow self is where one believes that they are always separated from infinite divine source. When you are told that you are not connected to a higher power, then you figure out, okay, I'm not going to last but so long. If I don't have no connection to the sun, that means I'm going to shrivel up somewhere. If I don't have any connection to divine beings and other source of divine beings, then I can't survive on this earth. But you can call in every element, even if you can't see them, you could call that element into place. Now, some of the entertainers, movie stars, billionaires, athletes set before us are the great illusions. Not all of them, some of them. Some of them, the few that I'm talking about, that's very positive, they will tell you they're not the role model. Your mom and dad is the role model. Your teachers is the role model. Your coaches are the role model. They're not the role model. So some of the entertainers, the others, movie stars, billionaires, athletes set before us are the great illusions. And many are the mediocre brands we have been forced to admire and what? Regurgitate their dreams. Do you realize children, ask children, what do they want to be when they grow up? Well, in our day, if they got rap music going on since the 80s, 90s, it came very much out there. If those children are listening to that, that's going to influence them, and they're going to what? Regurgitate the tune. They're going to sing the tune exactly the way they heard it, with all the bad words in it. You have to gain control over what they are listening to, just like our parents struggle to do the same for us. Low level mind control is designed to give us all a false sense of hope. Low level mind control is designed to give us all a false sense of hope. So hope is your beacon light, but if it's false, everything else comes down. Everything else around you falls down. The things that you thought were real fall down. Or maybe you don't pursue a better way of eating so that you can slim down, or maybe you don't do enough exercise. Hey, I've been one of them, but I'm switching. Back to doing my Tai Chi. I'm back to walking more. You have to do whatever you need to do to create an inner change. The change is never external. The change is always on the inside. The late Reverend Ike used to say it's an inside job, meaning you got to go in here. You got to pull out all the cobwebs up in here between your right temple and your left temple. You got to clean out all the mucus that's in your nasal passage, that's trapped in your throat, might be trapped in your bronchial tubes. You got to clear all that stuff out before you can get clarity in there. Keep the mind and heart clear means to keep the thoughts and feelings clean. And once they have been thoroughly cleared and open, once you could clear the thoughts and feelings and have them wide open, then you shall begin to attract and manifest all your heart's desires into a full reality. In other words, there'll be nothing that we cannot create. Why? Because we're not being held back. Our mind hasn't shifted to a lower frequency. We're not even cussing anymore. Cursing, right? Because cussing or cursing lowers your frequency. Your vibration used to be up here. The more you curse and carrying on, it starts getting here. And if you got other people who are on that plateau, they kind of suck you into where they're at. But you have to be conscious enough to know that you don't have to fall into the vat. You can say, oh, I know who this is, and I don't have to engage in conversation with them. So then you shall begin to attract and manifest all your heart's desires into full reality. But your main desire of the heart, your main desires of the heart is to become your transcendental self. That's the one that overcomes the lowest things. That's the one who's not bound by the physical world, not bound by the old physical world, not bound by excuses, not bound by what people project upon it or in its path. The transcendental self is also known as your higher self. The transcendental self is also known as your higher self. Higher, and I put a hyphen in, capital SELF. That hyphen is a bridge between yourself here and the higher version of yourself. As your higher self can never be anything or anyone other than your true self. Your higher self is true to form, and it is you. You might just capture the eyes of your higher self, but the rest, that's just eternal consciousness being expressed into a physical plane, right? Ariat Mott said that, eternal consciousness. So if your eternal consciousness is mapping itself out, it's thinking on its own, and at some point can return back on a completely different path, then that means that part of yourself is awakened. You just have to now shift it and mold it in a different way. As your higher self, you can never be anything or anyone other than your true self. As your higher self, you're not going to be anyone or anything else other than your true self. You will be always true to yourself. You won't lie to yourself. You won't strive to be perfect. You'll just be present. You'll just show up in the present moment. We live beyond this earthly existence. We are balancing ourselves through all realms of consciousness. That means fine tuning our awareness And now we are all in position to decide to move under the aegis of divine grace. That's a blessing in itself. To move, decide to move under the aegis. The aegis means the wings of divine grace. Now, why would you do that? Well, here's the answer. We can get ready. See, when you are under the wings of divine grace, under the aegis of divine grace, you're ready to do what? To embrace your higher self, even while others may not be ready. We see we all have a station. We all have a remembrance that we must do. We might have several remembrances. That's a part of the soul contract coming in here. But this is what we have to keep in mind. See, there are many who may not be ready, but hey, this is some of the things that they could be doing. Many are playing different roles. Many are anchors. That means they move to a location, they get rooted, and they don't plan on moving. They could sleep there all day long in their environment and creating a pulsation of peace, harmony, and happiness and serenity to others within a 10-mile radius. Could be a 20 or 30-mile radius. Could be a 50-mile radius. But guess what? You're the one that's projecting and you're sending the intention exactly where you want it to go. So there are many of you out here who are going to be anchoring for your whole community, not just your neighborhood, for your whole state, not just the country. You're going to, at some point, become an anchor. There are those of you who will also be all about expansion. You know, in order to open the mind, you got to expand. You got to open up the door for expectancy. And that door must be very wide because your expectancies are wide. You want to be in control of who you are and what you are doing. You're going to have those of you that will become visionaries. They will hold an inner vision of what things are to be like. You have those of you who can feel and sense things along their skin through the soles of their feet. Just walking in a room, they can feel something change and they're able to shift. There's also feel and sense. People out say, do you feel me? Do you feel what I'm saying? That's a street term to say, do you understand what I'm saying? If you can understand what I'm saying, put a 1 in the chat room here at Resident Essentials YouTube channel. Just type yes or the letter Y or the number 1. There's also the listen center with your ears, but consciousness has created the ears so you could hear wind coming in down the tunnel. These are essential. There's every part of you who can do this. Now, here's something else. All is happening as it should because not only you're listening, but you're becoming more centered and grounded so that you can listen. That sound has to come through you and has to hit something, a wall or a floor. It may hit the soles of your feet from the inside. So everything begins to reverberate. Change up, swing up, reverberate. Reverberate means creates an echo. There's also grounding. Now, a lot of people like the ground barefooted, and you can. I got tender feet. I can't. I have to find another way to ground. And what's that? If I'm around a tree, I don't have to take off my shoes, nor the soles, the socks, whatever. All I do is go over and touch the tree. And I'm grounded. So we have these abilities, but we have to be cautious about what we have. All is happening as it should. One thing for sure, we can choose to remain bogged down with 3D living. You can remain to be, that would be a decision. You decide, I want to be attached to the 3D world. The universe will bring that thought back to yourself, fully magnified, and that's what you're doing. So others may not be ready, but can happen to you at any given point. However, many are playing those roles again. I'm going to reread the roles. They're anchors, they're expansionites, they're expanders, they're envisionaries. They go within for the vision and can see it clearly. They could feel and sense. They can sense through their fingertips. Something has changed, something has shifted. They can feel it. You can choose to remain bogged down with 3D living or move forward through reincarnation. If you can move forward through reincarnation, that helps you to do what? Keep leveling up, keep rising up while assisting others to awaken to higher consciousness and their higher self. So what we're doing, we're here pulling each other up. That's why we notice we're here. We're looking at each other, look at ring lamps, look at laptops, look at TVs, computers, smart TV. But it's all based on you. It is all based on you. You are carrying the necessary frequency for something to hitch up to you. If you don't carry a low frequency, but you carry a much higher frequency, then that which is coming for you will miss you. We all have this opportunity. So let us choose not to live selfishly, but as our higher self for the highest good of all. And this is the prayer. Short. My grace is your grace. My grace is your grace. Remember that divine grace is a blessing as we are alive and well. See, we have that, I can't say we're alive because your health can falter. And I'm not going to say as we are well because we don't know how deep your well, how deep your consciousness goes, how deep does the well go so that you can communicate with yourselves. So that's an ending phrase. My grace is your grace. Remember that divine grace is a blessing as we are alive and well in the age of remembrance. Well, if you can remember all of that, being alive and well, then you will get a blessing out of that. It's not just going to go to one specific person. It's going to go to one person. So that is my talk for today. If you have any questions, tap them in now. If you have any questions, or send them to my email, which is iam.circleofgrace1@gmail.com. That's iam.circleofgrace with the number 1 at the end, 1 after grace, clustered together at gmail.com. And I will be joyfully and happily answering your questions by email, if that's what you would like to do. Remember that you all carry a frequency. Your frequency is your frequency, but your higher frequency, we carry a frequency of vibration known as the self. That's the one that's tied to the 5 cosmic elements: fire, air, water, earth, and metal. That's tied to all of those things. But you can free yourself of that. You can free your mind of that. You can pull yourself away from it. So your whole idea is to show or bestow unconditional love upon your fellow humanitarians, your fellow beings. Shower them with love, insight, attention, understanding, compassion. What's the other one? Understanding, overstanding. Overstanding, you look up and you can see down. but you want to be aware that you can be freed up at any moment. You don't have to be locked into a specific language, a specific thing you need to do. You don't need to do that. All you need to do is rise to the occasion, allowing yourself to be what? You. Be your transcendental self. That's the side that knows things that you could not have known. Why? Because it's bombarded, it's receiving information, it's filtering through information, and it begins to see you as light, as infinite wisdom. All right, if you don't have any questions, I want to thank Brenda Pihema for joining today. Arit Mayat, thank you. Also, Linda Garcia is here. Jackie Fillmore, Antoine is here. And that's it. Thank you for joining me. Be sure to click the thumbs up button if you liked what I had to say today. You can come back and replay it and leave comments. We get around to answering the questions, or you can send me your comments and questions to iam.circlegrace1@gmail.com. I will try to be here next Thursday. Been doing a lot of work, trying to catch up to my rest at the same time. But I should be here next Saturday with another podcast for Clear Blue Radiance. And it's here normally every Thursday at 1 p.m. to 1:30 p.m., which is 3 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. if you're East Coast. If you're Central Time Zone, it will be 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And if you're out on the West Coast, which is almost picking up the state of Nevada going out, you might just want to see what you have, choose it wisely, pick it, embrace it, and know that you can have whatever you want to have. So, so that I'm not rambling, I got to get out of here, pick up some mail someplace, and get back home. Thank you for joining me. See you here next week, usually at 1 p.m. or 1:30 p.m. here for Resonant Essentials. My podcast is Clear Blue Radiance. I'm the host, Brother Francis E. Revels-Bey. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend, and see you next week. And also, if you need anything, you can go to my website, www.circleofgrace1.us/. Let me write my website in here, the full link, just in case. Um, One of the things I was supposed to teach a free and enrichment training course this past Tuesday, but I seemed to be overwhelmed with a lot of work and I didn't get to it. So none of you missed anything. Okay, we'll do something next month on the second Tuesday of the month. We'll get one out there. Keep in mind on the fourth Sunday we have planetary healing. It's free. Doesn't cost anything. That's on my own Zoom link platform, and I take you through a guided meditation, and then we take one that brings us closer to ourselves, and we release that energy out into the world. So I just want to let you know all about that. Thank you for joining and being supportive here for Resident Essentials. This is Michelle Vidal's channel, and she allows me to come here and do these podcasts. So I'm getting ready to sign off. I just want to leave my website link here so that if you want to check out other information, I'll have more. All right, everybody. Take care of yourself. See you real soon. And I'm out of here. Gotta go.